My mom gave me her house, then tried to sue me for it. You ever have that gut feeling something is too good to be true? When my mom handed me the keys to her house and said, "It's yours now, sweetie. I want you and your family to have a real shot," I should have known something was off. I thought it was a blessing. I thought she was finally proud of me. But that moment kicked off the most stressful, bizarre, and downright cruel year of my life, one that ended with court papers, backstabbing family members, and a secret that would change everything. Let me back up a bit. I'm Jake, 33 years old, married to my high school sweetheart, Rachel. We've got 2 kids, Mason, 7, and Lila, 4. We're your average struggling middle-class family trying to make ends meet. I work full-time as an HVAC tech, and Rachel works part-time at a daycare. We've been renting this tiny 2-bedroom apartment on the edge of town for the last 4 years. Mold in the bathroom. Upstairs neighbors stomping at 3 a.m. Rent going up every 6 months. You get the picture. We were drowning. No savings. Maxed out credit cards. Medical bills from when Mason broke his arm last year. We were this close to moving in with Rachel's mom, which would have been its own disaster. Then, out of nowhere, my mom called. My relationship with my mom has always been complicated. She raised me as a single parent and worked hard, I'll give her that. But she also had this manipulative streak. Guilt-tripping. Emotional outbursts. Holding favors over my head. So when she said she wanted to give me the house, I was skeptical. She owned a small, paid-off ranch-style home in a quiet neighborhood, where I grew up. My mom's health had been declining, and she said she planned to move into a senior living apartment closer to her sister. "Jake, you've got a family now," she told me over tea one evening. "This house needs life in it again. I want my grandkids to grow up here. I'm not selling it. I'm giving it to you." It was hard not to cry. It felt like a turning point in our lives. We signed a quick claim deed. She moved out 2 weeks later. We moved in 3 days after that. At first, it was like winning the lottery. The kids had their own rooms. We had a backyard. A washer and dryer. We could breathe again. I finally felt like a man who was providing for his family. But by the second month, things got weird. It started with the mail. My mom never updated her address, so bills and letters kept showing up in her name. I'd text her pictures of them. Sometimes she'd respond. Sometimes not. Then she started showing up unannounced. I'd get home from work and find her sitting on the porch, smoking, acting like she still lived there. One time, Rachel came home from grocery shopping to find my mom inside the house. She had used her old key. Said she just needed to grab something from the attic. Rachel was shaken up. I tried to play it down, but I changed the locks that night. That's when all hell broke loose. My mom called me screaming. "How dare you lock me out of my own home? Your home? You gave it to us. Remember? I let you live there. That doesn't mean you get to take it from me." She hung up on me. The next day, we got served. She was suing us. She claimed she had never intended to give us the house outright, that she had only let us stay there while she got her health figured out. Her lawyer filed for wrongful occupation and wanted the deed voided. It was surreal. I had documents. I had the signed transfer. But the way her lawyer twisted everything made me feel like I was crazy. To make matters worse, Rachel's mom was diagnosed with cancer around the same time. So now we were juggling legal fees, childcare, my job, and helping with her treatment. I felt like I was being crushed from every direction. The kicker? My uncle, my mom's brother, called me and said, "Just give it back, Jake. She's family. She gave you life." I wanted to scream. No one was on our side. No one, except my little sister. After the lawsuit landed in our lap, everything changed. Rachel cried herself to sleep more nights than I could count. Mason started wetting the bed again. Lila wouldn't go into the attic anymore, she said. "Grandma's ghost lives up there." I didn't have the heart to tell her grandma was still very much alive and somehow scarier than any ghost. We lawyered up. I scraped together $2,000 for a retainer by selling my toolbox and our second car. I started picking up weekend shifts. Rachel asked her boss for extra hours. We stopped eating out, canceled Netflix, and switched to prepaid phones. Still, it felt like we were bleeding out financially. And emotionally? I was on the verge of a breakdown. That's when my sister, Emily, called. Now, Emily's 10 years younger than me and had always been the golden child. Our mom coddled her, protected her from the worst of things. I figured if anyone would be on Mom's side, it'd be her. But I was wrong. She said, "Jake, I need to show you something." We met at a diner halfway between our towns. She looked nervous, like she thought someone might be watching. She pulled a manila envelope from her bag and slid it across the table. Inside was a photocopy of our grandmother's will. "What is this?" I asked. "Grandma left the house to you," Emily said. "Not Mom. She was supposed to keep it in your name until you turned 30. But she never told you, did she?" My head spun. The will was dated 2009. Grandma had passed in 2010. I was 18 when she died. Mom had told me the house was hers fair and square. That Grandma had left everything to her. That she bought it with blood, sweat, and tears. But the will said otherwise. The residence at 19 Magnolia Lane shall be held in trust by my daughter, Marlene Anderson, until my grandson, Jacob Anderson, reaches the age of 30. That meant the house had legally been mine for the last 3 years. Emily told me she found the will in an old lockbox while helping our mom clean out a storage unit. When she asked Mom about it, she lost it, screamed, accused Emily of snooping, and threatened to cut her off. She told me you'd never find out, Emily said. She's hiding more than that, Jake. I sat there staring at my coffee as everything started falling into place. No wonder she flipped when I changed the locks. No wonder she never updated her address. She knew the house wasn't hers to begin with. She never gave me anything. She tried to take it back before I could realize the truth. I took the will to my lawyer. He read it twice, then said, "This changes everything." We filed a motion to dismiss her lawsuit. With the will as evidence, we argued that she had no legal claim to the house, and that she had actively committed fraud by not disclosing the trust arrangement. Mom's attorney tried to play it cool. Claimed it was a misunderstanding. Said she thought the will was outdated. But the judge wasn't buying it. Then came the next twist. During discovery, we requested all financial documents tied to the estate, just in case there were other surprises. What we found made my blood boil. There was a bank account in my name. Opened in 2010. Grandma had left $25,000 in it. For Jake's future. It had been untouched for about a year, until my mom started draining it. Bit by bit. 1,000 here, 500 there. She used it to pay off credit cards, book a cruise, and, get this, buy Emily a used car for graduation. I was furious. My own mother had robbed me. Lied to me. Sued me. And used my inheritance to go on a damn cruise. When I confronted her, she said, "I raised you. That money was mine by right." I had no words. It should have ended there. But of course it didn't. A week before our final court date, my uncle, the same one who told me to just give the house back, called again. "Jake, can we talk?" I was ready to hang up, but something in his voice stopped me. He sounded tired. Almost guilty. "I didn't know about the will," he said. "But there's something else you need to see. Something about your dad." I froze. My dad left when I was 4. I barely remembered him. Just that he played guitar and smelled like Old Spice. My mom always said he was a loser who ran off and never paid a dime in child support. But Uncle Ron said he didn't leave. He was pushed out. The next day, we met in a parking lot behind an auto repair shop. He handed me a box of old letters, tattered, faded, some unopened. They were all from my dad. Written over 15 years. "I wanted to see you, Jake." I tried. But she wouldn't let me. I went to court 3 times. I lost every time. There were birthday cards, Christmas wishes, photos of guitars he built. One letter had a picture of him holding a "Happy 10th birthday" sign outside our school gates. Mom never gave it to me. I sat in my car reading every letter until it got dark. Then I cried. Not just for me, but for the life I could have had. For the man I never got to know. For the truth that had been buried under years of lies. Court day felt like walking into a tornado. Rachel sat beside me, clutching my hand so tight I thought she might break it. My lawyer looked calm, but I could see the subtle stress in the way he shuffled his notes. Across the room sat my mother, flanked by her attorney and wearing a dark blue suit I recognized as the one she'd worn to Grandma's funeral. She didn't look at me once. But I saw something in her expression, something cold. Not sadness. Not guilt. Just determination. She wanted to win. At any cost. And that terrified me. The courtroom was quiet as our lawyers laid everything out. The will. The forged narrative. The bank account. It was clear-cut. Grandma had left me the house. My mom had concealed the will, illegally accessed the trust account, and misrepresented ownership. But then her attorney stood up and delivered the performance of a lifetime. He spun the story into something completely unrecognizable, a struggling single mother who misunderstood legal documents. Who believed she was protecting her son from making mistakes. Who thought she was temporarily letting her family stay in the house, not losing it. She acted out of love, the lawyer said. She thought she was giving her son shelter, not losing her entire legacy. I almost choked. Rachel had to squeeze my arm to keep me from standing up. Then came their witness. They called my Aunt Barbara, Mom's older sister. She was supposed to confirm that Mom had told her about the arrangement, that she never meant to sign the house away. But Barbara shocked everyone. She sat down, raised her right hand, and looked my mom dead in the eyes. Then she said, "Marlene's lying." You could have heard a pin drop. I was there the night she signed the deed. Aunt Barbara continued. She was clear about giving the house to Jake. She said she was finally ready to make up for everything. That she wanted him to have a real home. My mom's face went ghost white. Barbara even admitted that she warned my mom to update the will, but she refused. She said no one needed to know. That testimony blew their whole case apart. But there was still one final moment that sealed everything. My lawyer called me to the stand. I walked up, took the oath, and tried to steady my hands. Then he asked me just one question. Jake, what did this house mean to you growing up? I looked at my mom, then looked at the judge, and said, it meant safety. It meant holidays, pancakes on Saturdays, and warm nights in the backyard chasing fireflies. It meant everything a kid could want, until it didn't. Until it became a weapon. Until my own mother used it to control me. To hurt me. And now that I finally have the chance to make it a home for my kids, she's trying to rip it away. I paused, fighting tears. I'm not asking for money. I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for peace. For the right to raise my family in the place I was raised. That's all. The judge nodded slowly. My mother just sat there, unmoved. Verdict day came 2 weeks later. We gathered in that same stiff courtroom. My stomach twisted with every passing second. Then the judge spoke. This court finds in favor of the defendant. The deed transfer is valid. The plaintiff acted in bad faith. Furthermore, restitution for unauthorized withdrawals from the trust account is ordered in the amount of $21,437, payable within 90 days. It was over. I felt a rush of relief, grief, and exhaustion all at once. Rachel hugged me so tight I almost forgot where we were. My mom. She stormed out without a word. But something told me it wasn't truly over. And I was right. 3 days after the verdict, I got a letter in the mail. It wasn't from my mom. It was from my father. Yes, the man I thought had disappeared forever. The one whose letters I'd read in secret, crying like a kid all over again. He had heard about the court case. From my uncle. And he wanted to meet. I don't expect forgiveness, he wrote. But if you'll let me, I'd like to talk. Maybe grab a coffee. No pressure. My heart dropped. I didn't know what to do. After all those years, did I want to reopen that door? Rachel told me. You don't owe him anything. But if you're curious, do it. At least for yourself. So I did. We met at a quiet diner outside the city. Same one where I met Emily weeks earlier. There he was, grayer, slower, older, but still him. Still the man in those photos. Jake, he said, standing awkwardly. It's really good to see you. It wasn't easy. We didn't hug. We didn't cry. But we talked for 4 straight hours. He told me everything, about how he tried to get custody, how the courts believed my mom because she looked more stable, about the restraining orders she filed after he got remarried, about how he kept sending letters even when they came back unopened. He never stopped trying. And for the first time in my life, I believed him. That dinner didn't fix everything. But it started something new. Something better. A second chance. But guess who came knocking one last time? Yep. Mom. It was a rainy Tuesday when she showed up. I heard the knock while I was helping Mason with his math homework. Rachel peeked through the curtain, froze, and said, Jake, it's your mom. I didn't want to open the door. After everything she'd done, the lies, the lawsuit, the stolen money, I figured we were done for good. I had no interest in reliving any of it. But Rachel said, You'll regret it if you don't at least hear her out. So I opened the door. She looked small. Not the fiery, defiant woman from court. She had lost weight. Her eyes were sunken. Her hair was thinner. Jake, she said. Can I come in? I didn't answer. I just stepped aside. We sat at the kitchen table. She didn't touch the tea Rachel poured. She just stared at her hands. I have stage 4 pancreatic cancer, she finally said. Doctors give me 3 months. Maybe. I stared at her, unsure whether to believe her. After all the manipulation, how could I? She pulled out a stack of paperwork, diagnosis, scans, letters from the oncologist. It was real. And then she said something I never expected. I came to say I'm sorry. She started to cry. And for once, I believed it wasn't for show. She said she had been angry. Angry since my dad left. Angry at Grandma for bypassing her in the will. Angry that life hadn't given her what she thought she deserved. I thought if I could control something, anything, I wouldn't feel so powerless. And I guess I picked the one thing I knew would hurt the most. She wiped her eyes and looked at Rachel. You've been a better daughter to me than my own ever was. And I didn't deserve your kindness. Even Rachel teared up. She handed me an envelope. This is everything I took. Every penny. I sold my car, drained my savings, and took out a loan. It's not much, but it's what I had left. Inside was a cashier's check for $21,500. I didn't want to die without making things right, she whispered. I didn't forgive her right away. Honestly, I wasn't sure I could. But something in me softened that night. I let her stay for dinner. Lila drew her a picture. Mason gave her a hug goodbye. She cried the whole way to the Uber. A week later, she called and asked if I could take her to a chemo appointment. I said yes. And then I said yes again. And again. It became routine. I'd pick her up, drive her to the hospital, sit with her, and take her home. We didn't talk much at first. Just small things. Weather. TV shows. But over time, the wall between us began to crack. Then she said something that stopped me cold. I didn't just lie about the will, Jake. She said one day while we waited in the hospital lounge. There's something else I kept from you. She took a deep breath. It's about your dad. My heart skipped. What now? I asked, trying to sound calm. He didn't leave because of me. Not exactly. He left because he found out I wasn't honest about you. I blinked. What does that mean? She looked at me with that same teary, haunted stare. I told him you weren't his. I swear, the room tilted. Wait, what? She nodded slowly. I was angry at him. We were fighting. He wanted to leave. So I told him you weren't his child, just to hurt him. He never asked for a DNA test. He believed me. And he left. My whole body went numb. He tried to come back a year later, said he didn't care if you were his or not. But I said if he came near you, I'd tell everyone he hit me. He never touched me, Jake. Not once. But I knew that would scare him off. I couldn't speak. My throat was dry. My pulse pounded in my ears. You stole my father from me, I whispered. She nodded. I know. I didn't say a word the whole drive home. When I told Rachel, she gasped. Jake, you have to tell your dad. I didn't want to. What if he hated me for being the product of all that pain? What if he never wanted to see me again? But I called him anyway. He didn't say much when I told him. Just silence on the other end of the line. Then he said, Can I come over? He arrived the next day. Sat on my porch, holding a tiny box. Inside was a home DNA test kit. I've been waiting 30 years for this, he said with a small, sad smile. I'd rather know. Either way, you're still my son. We sent it in. Waited 10 days. I checked the results while sitting at the same kitchen table where my mother told me she was dying. 99.99% match. He was my father. We hugged for the first time in 29 years. He cried. I cried. Mason asked why Grandpa was hugging Daddy so hard. I didn't care about the years we lost anymore. I cared that I had him now. As for my mom, the chemo didn't work. She passed away 6 weeks later. I held her hand near the end. She whispered, Thank you? I said, I'm still mad. She smiled. You should be. But I also told her I loved her. Because I did. Complicated, broken, messy love, but real. After the funeral, things were strangely quiet. My mother was gone. The court case was behind us. The house was ours, legally, emotionally, and spiritually. My dad came over every other weekend to play with the kids. Emily even moved back to town and started coming by for Sunday dinners. For the first time in a long time, life felt peaceful. Until we decided to finally clean out the attic. We had put it off for months. Between the lawsuit, the health stuff, and all the emotional chaos, the attic had become a we'll deal with it later kind of thing. Rachel said. Maybe it'll be good. Like closure or something. So one Saturday morning, we pulled down the creaky ladder and climbed into the musty, cobwebbed space above our heads. Boxes. Dozens of them. Labeled with everything from Christmas decor to Jake's old art projects. It felt like walking through a museum of my childhood. Tucked in the farthest corner was a dusty cedar chest with a broken latch. Rachel said, This looks secretive. And she wasn't wrong. Inside was a stack of old photos, a few yellowed newspaper clippings, and one envelope. It was addressed in neat cursive too. To be opened when the truth is too heavy to carry alone. There was no name. No date. No stamp. Rachel looked at me. Are you okay? I don't know, I said. But I opened it anyway. Inside was a single letter. Handwritten. Faded but legible. And it was from Grandma. If you're reading this, I assume things have not gone the way I hoped. I pray I'm wrong, but I know my daughter's heart. I fear she may not honor my wishes. And so, I want to make something perfectly clear. The house belongs to Jacob. It always has. I left it to him for a reason, not just because he is my grandson, but because he is good. Because he has always seen light in dark places. Because he has strength and kindness in equal measure. Marlene has suffered much, yes. But she has also caused pain. I tried to guide her. I tried to help. But there are wounds that even a mother cannot heal. Jake, if you're reading this, I want you to know, I believed in you. I saw the man you would become. And I loved you as if you were my own son. Take care of this house. Fill it with laughter. Protect it from the bitterness that has haunted our family. And never, ever doubt that you are worthy of it. Love always. Grandma Ellen. I had to sit down. Rachel wiped her eyes. I read it again. And again. This letter, hidden away for over a decade, was more than confirmation. It was a message across time. A final blessing. And maybe, a release. I had the letter framed and hung it in the hallway near the front door. Not where guests could easily see it, but where I'd pass by every morning on the way to work. The kids started asking who Grandma Ellen was. I told them she was the reason we had a home at all. Mason called her the fairy grandma. And as for the attic? We turned it into a reading nook for the kids. Painted the walls, added bean bags and twinkle lights. Lila called it her Princess Cloud. The ghosts were gone. A few months later, we threw a backyard barbecue. Friends, neighbors, cousins, even my dad came, strumming his guitar while the kids ran through the sprinkler. Toward the end of the night, he pulled me aside and said, "You know, I always wondered what kind of man you'd grow up to be." I laughed. Disappointed? He shook his head. Proud. So damn proud. We didn't need to say more. And then, one final surprise. A few weeks later, Rachel handed me a small box with a blue bow. I opened it and found a keychain. Shaped like a house. Engraved with the words, "Home is who you build it with." I looked at her. She was already smiling through tears. "I'm pregnant," she whispered. I had to sit down all over again. It's been 5 years since my mother passed. 5 years since the court case, the betrayal, the late-night revelations in hospital lobbies, the attic letters, and all the ghosts we thought would never let us go. If you had told me back then, when we were broke, scared, and fighting for the roof over our heads, that I'd be sitting on that same porch with a cold drink, watching my 3 kids run around the yard while my wife laughs with my dad and sister inside, I would have said you were dreaming. But here we are. We named our 3rd child Ellie, after Grandma Ellen. She's 4 now. Wild curls, sharp wit, big personality. She was born in the house, technically. Rachel went into labor early, and Ellie didn't feel like waiting for the hospital. We always joke she wanted to be part of the legacy from the start. Mason's almost 12 and already taller than Rachel. Lila's in ballet and insists we call her Your Majesty when she puts on her tutu. The house echoes with laughter now, exactly the way Grandma asked for in that letter. We've even hosted 2 neighborhood block parties, both organized by Rachel. Turns out, she's got a serious talent for event planning. She's started her own little business on the side. I still work HVAC full-time, but I cut back my weekends to be around more. Money's tight sometimes, but not scary tight. Just normal life tight. We're okay. Actually, we're more than okay. But of course, life still has a funny way of circling back. Last summer, I got a call from a woman named Susan Whitaker. She said she was an estate attorney handling an inheritance case and asked if I had a few minutes to talk. I thought it was spam at first. But something about her voice felt serious, measured, like she knew something I didn't. "Mr. Anderson," she said, "did you know your mother had a life insurance policy?" I laughed. "You must be mistaken. My mom had nothing left. She sold her car and drained her savings just to pay back the money she owed us." "That's true," Susan replied. "But she had a secondary policy. One she took out over 25 years ago. And she never canceled it." I blinked. "Are you saying?" "Yes. You're the sole beneficiary. It was only $15,000, but with interest over the years, it's grown to about $37,000. I sat down, stunned. She never said a word. She left a note with the policy file. Susan added, "Would you like me to send it?" The note came in a plain white envelope. "If Jake ever finds this, that means I'm gone. And maybe that's for the best. I don't deserve his forgiveness, but I do want to leave him something good. Something clean. This money isn't much, but it's what I had left to give without strings. Use it to fix the roof. Take Rachel on a real vacation. Buy Mason that telescope he's always wanted. Just use it to live better than I did." I read it twice. Then I sat there for a long time, just breathing. It was the most honest thing my mother ever gave me. We didn't spend the money all at once. We did get the roof fixed. And yes, Mason got his telescope. He swears he saw Saturn last week. Rachel and I used a chunk to take the kids on a surprise trip to Yellowstone, our first real vacation. The rest? We put into a college fund. Not a full one, but enough to give them a head start. Funny, isn't it? How something that began in betrayal ended up laying the foundation for our kids' futures. A few weeks ago, I stood out on the porch with my dad after dinner. The sun was setting, the sky turning that perfect sherbet orange that only happens in July. He lit his pipe, yeah, he's one of those old school dads, and said, "You know, your mom wasn't a good woman. Not all the time. But I think, maybe, right at the end, she tried to be." I nodded. "She did some awful things. But I think you're right. She tried." Then I added, "And maybe trying is the best some people ever manage." We sat in silence for a while, just watching the kids chase fireflies. So here's what I've learned. Family doesn't mean perfection. Sometimes it means pain, betrayal, lawsuits, lies. But sometimes it also means healing. Generations trying again. Letters that show up when you need them. Quiet apologies. And kids who laugh just a little louder than the past can echo. This house, this messy, old, magical house, is full of all of it. The good and the bad. The forgiveness and the failure. And we're still here. Still building something better. The end.